Hello, this is Ray Main here again with today's Bible reading. Today we're going to be reading in the book of Esther, chapter 7. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it be please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I'd held my tongue, although the enemy cannot countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, Behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, Hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. Well, put yourself in Haman's place. He thought things was going good. Here he was right up there with the king. He was the only other one besides the king that was brought into Esther the queen's apartments, if you will, to a private banquet. Oh, how high he was. The only fly in his ointment was Mordecai. If he could just get rid of him, then everything would be hunky-dory. And then to be brought face to face with that, his whole world fell apart at that moment, didn't it? And it sure enough did. In his lack of wisdom and his entreaty of the queen, he had fallen upon her bed. They reclined on couches to eat back then. So she was reclining on a couch, no doubt, or what we would call a day bed or something like that, a chaise lounge maybe. But he had fallen on that, and when the king came back in from the garden, he saw him on the couch with her, and that was the final straw, and he lost his life. So, let's don't get too caught up, too self-righteous. Don't get too self-righteous. And let's try to be obedient to God and His will for you. So, well, I don't know what that is. Well, you've got a blueprint. It's called the Bible. That'll give you the outline. And talk to God and let Him talk to you to find your individual calling. God bless. We'll speak to you tomorrow.